ready to go?
I am.
Greetings, respected viewers. I'm George from Ireland. I'm in front of the North Cyprus Turkish Republic representative office in London, so I'm on Bedford Square. So, well, you may have heard of the island of Cyprus at the eastern end of the Mediterranean Sea. It's close to Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Israel. Now, the people of Cyprus, or the majority of them, have been Greek since time immemorial. I shan't give you a potted history of Cyprus, but anyway, it was part of the Ottoman Empire in some form for over 300 years. Then it was a British colony, and then in 1960 it became independent. But up to 20% of the population were ethnically Turkish, speaking the Turkish language and professing the Muslim faith. The majority of the population were the Greek ethnicity, speaking the Greek language, and were Christians, mostly of the Greek Orthodox Church. But anyway, both Cyprus and Greece professed a great interest in the country, and the Greek Cypriot majority, they don't wanted enosis, as in unification with Greece, but as part of the independence agreement, the Zurich Agreement and the London Agreement, they conceded that they would not actually become part of Greece, nor would they become part of Turkey. So that was that. So the Turkish ethnic minority in Cyprus had a special representation beyond their numbers in the legislature and indeed the Cypriot army. But there was a lot of intercommunal asperity in the early 60s, some fighting, and the ethnic Turks retreating into their own villages, being armed to the teeth, supported by Turkey. So July 1974, Turkey invaded the island and seized 38% of the land. So there were two British military bases that remain there to this day. And the United Nations was already there, but the United Nations had to intervene even more and create a buffer zone to try and keep the two sides apart. The Greek army had already been in there at the request of the Cypriot government. But anyway, so Turkey continues to occupy 38% of the island. We say North Cyprus, it's more like east than north, that bit closer to Turkey. More of it's the flatter land, therefore the more fertile land, and the western part of the island, well, 2/3 almost, is obviously under control of the Cypriot government. Now, Nicosia is the capital city of Cyprus, or Lefkosia as the Greeks call it, and that's a divided city. So anyway, the Turkish government did not quite know what to do with North Cyprus. They moved a lot of Turkish people in from Anatolia, as in mainland Turkey, and lots of soldiers. So people saying you're attempting to alter the demographics of the island, because you know Turkey these days has got 80 million people. They could easily shift enough people to Cyprus to create a majority if they wanted to. But that is that. So the Cypriot government, based at Nicosia, is the lawful and legitimate government of the whole of the island. However, they don't control the whole of the island. And in 1983, North Cyprus proclaimed its independence, recognised by only one other sovereign state, that is to say Turkey. So North Cyprus has got an embassy in Ankara, Turkey's got an embassy in Nicosia, the northern half of Nicosia. Okay, but a lot of people say this is a puppet government, it is legally a nullity, it's an illegal independence, and so forth. So even the poverty-stricken Turkic tyrannies of Central Asia don't recognise North Cyprus when it might be financially advantageous to them to do so. So the place is sort of legally in a limbo, doesn't have extradition treaties with anywhere else besides Turkey, which is why Azil Nadir, this British businessman of Turkish Cypriot origin, when he was in trouble for a massive scale fraud in 1993, he chartered a private plane and flew to North Cyprus, where he was able to hide out for something like 18 years before coming back to face the music. So because North Cyprus is not recognised by the United Kingdom, North Cyprus cannot have an embassy in the United Kingdom, but they do have a representative office. And that's their flag flying aloft with a white field, two red horizontal bars, one near the top, one near the bottom, and it's got the five-pointed red star and a red crescent moon, these symbols of Muslim countries. So it was more or less an inversion of the Turkish flag, red for white and white for red. So that's them. So it wasn't a very wealthy place. A lot of Turkish Cypriots moved overseas, particularly here. And that's that. They were useful to the Turks if they went to the Republic of Turkey, because often they spoke English. You're going way back to the 60s. Very few Turks spoke English. So that's that. It's one of these largely unrecognised countries that still has a representative office here, such as you know, Taiwan does as well. They've got various representative offices around the world, North Cyprus, but nowhere else. They use the Turkish lira. The Turkish army is still there. So people have tried to come up with plans whereby the national territory could be reintegrated, could the Turkish army be persuaded to withdraw. But unfortunately, these efforts have been unavailing. So the late lamented Kofi Annan, Secretary General of the United Nations, he came up with the Annan Plan. Notice his surname is not pronounced Annan, it's Annan to rhyme with cannon, as he said. And unfortunately, he did not consult with the people of Cyprus, either the ethnically Greek majority or the ethnically Turkish minority. And so it was just too abstract, and it was put to referendum. In North Cyprus, they accepted. In the area controlled by the Republic of Cyprus, the legitimate government, it was overwhelmingly rejected. Because the North Cypriots, by around about 2003, were beginning to perceive the advantages of coming home to Cyprus and saying, all right, we will dissolve this Turkish Republic of North Cyprus, we will rejoin the Republic of Cyprus, and that's that, because Cyprus was about to join the European Union, and then they'd have the right to live and work in any other EU country, benefit from EU structural funds and so forth. And the Greeks said, if our brother, Cyprus, is not allowed to join, we will veto any Eastern European countries acceding to the European Union. Remember, if your country is to join the EU, all existing member states have to approve that. And obviously the Turks have the long-term goal of joining the EU. They no longer do. You go back 15 years, 2/3 of Turks wanted to join the EU. You ask them now, 2/3 do not. But now they've got Recep Tayyip Erdogan as president of Turkey, the man who's ruled the country either as president or as prime minister since 2002. And he is a hardline nationalist, quite irredentist, believes in neo-Ottomanism. So any hope of conciliation, I'm afraid, for the moment is forlorn, because he's got these expansionist, ultra-nationalist policies. So obviously the Ottoman Empire is a bitterly unhappy memory for Greeks, Greek Cypriots, Armenians and others. Now I know no empire was entirely pretty. They had their depravities, and all empires had their virtues. But I'm sorry to say that the Ottoman Empire had rather few virtues to recommend it, and an awful lot of wrongdoing right to the end, even though these things were not the norm in the early 20th century, where the sort of the French and British empires and so on had moved beyond this, were not as abusive as they'd been before. But the Ottoman Empire really had few saving graces. So that is the Turkish Republic of North Cyprus. At least there's peace there. You can pass back and forth freely between the two parts of Cyprus. Famagusta was the major port of Cyprus, and that's in the Turkish-controlled part, which is obviously a major blow to the economy of an island. And that's that, and some of the most gorgeous beaches are in North Cyprus. You can't fly to North Cyprus except from Turkey. They have to have their phones having a Turkish prefix. They're not allowed to participate in any international sporting or cultural organization. So if the situation were resolved, if Cyprus were reunited, then many advantages would accrue to the people of North Cyprus, and there could be peace for the whole country. Well, I hope the thing is satisfactorily resolved, and this could still guarantee the entitlements and liberties of the Turkish minority.